Welcome everyone. How's it going? I'm just waiting on Lee here. I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, the time change didn't screw us up here. But $1,001 sitting on Tesla. I'm just getting a DM here from Lee. 1 second now. But I thought I'd go live regardless. He can come in whenever he needs to. Yep. Well, hold on 1 second. 12 p.m. Okay, awesome. $1,000. How's it going, folks? Let me know. I think Lee should be coming in shortly. So apologies for that. Oh, time zone changes did did get us. How's it going? Paco, Mimi, Harry, Richard, how's it going, folks? You have to pump it up, says Steven. Well, I've got the juju here. Hopefully you guys have the juju as well. Lee probably coming on very soon here. So I've got a lot of questions lined up and I'm super excited to have Lee on. But in the meantime, let's try to kill some time on Power Hour, shall we? And we do a pretty good job of it together. Let me just pull up my news here. So today was quite the roller coaster day on Tesla. I'll pull up the 15-minute bar candle charts here. High of day is $1,040, coming all the way up to like 4.5% up here on the day. And then for a second, actually turning negative. Here we are back under $1,000 a little bit. I think I'm going to have to peel my first juju here. But you know what? I was having this conversation in Discord. By the way, let me know if in chat if my audio is coming in clear. Hopefully it is. How many oranges today? This is my first one. But I was saying this in Discord today. The more price action we can get around 1,000, not just gap past it, the more price action we can get in and around 1,000, the more solid of a base that we can build in terms of support at the $1,000 level. Now, obviously, going back months and months and months, it's not like we've had a shortage of $1,000 tests. And I'll pull up the 1 day here, just the daily chart on Tesla. You'll see a lot of price action in the upper nines, but really not a lot in the $1,000 area. So the more support I think we can build in around here, it's fine by me. Obviously, I want a more sustained, longer term run. Marco, how's it going? Julio, a rockin' morning for sure. Absolutely. Let's see here. Incredible week and a half. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, King says just ate a lemon. There we go. Okay. Got some lemon action coming in. And let's see here. Okay, that's my first juju for the day. I just had a cup of coffee too. Let me know what you guys are eating or drinking at the moment. You know what's funny? Okay, volume today is really good. I mean, 35 million shares traded in Tesla. Essentially, what that tells me, a massive part of that, for me is that big money is back. Big money is back. If you look at the bar graph for essentially Tesla, volume had been subdued for a long, long time. And on that amazing note, I am bringing in Lee into the chat here. Lee from Tesla Economist. Lee, how's it going?
Again, all right?
Yes. Yeah, coming in okay. Am I coming in okay for you?
Yeah, it's all good.
Awesome. Yeah, time zone change. I've had it in my notes to mention it to you because I wasn't sure if New Zealand does the time zone change or not.
I thought we were waiting for market close, so yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right, yeah, because that's what I just go by. Yeah.
How's it going?
What a day today we had, right? 10:40.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. 10:40 on the day is high of day here. I'll share it here. Yeah, 10:40. And I mean, I was just telling everyone, I don't mind us retesting the $1,000 level and building more of a support here. So the next time that we test it or we have to test it on a red day, there's more support here on the downside.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite impressed with 10:40. That was good. I mean, it dropped back a little bit, obviously, but it's good to see that it's there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a lot to talk about. Lee, you've been putting out putting out awesome content on our Tesla batteries. Of course, the good news here is Giga Berlin has finally opened. I think we were joking that it never happened last time we were chatting. Thoughts on Giga Berlin first and everything around the celebratory events that have been happening the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, now we get to see what the Germans can do when they come to manufacturing. And obviously, they have a spectacular reputation with their cars. I mean, just looking at the car park, have you seen how those cars are parked? Like the precision of the parking compared to Texas or something. I don't know if it's the German precision, but or if the cars are just parking themselves or something, because it just goes to show the attention to detail they have. And some of the cars you've seen, people just saying like the build quality is just looking superb now,
Yeah.
And this new paint as well. You got the Quicksilver, and what is it, a crimson red as well that's coming out. These are going to be like what Elon's saying, the best paint in the world for non-show cars.
Yeah, and it's nice to I mean, of course, it would have been nice 8 months ago for them to go online, but Giga Berlin moving forward is such a asset because German engineering is next level. People like to pay for that type of engineering, and it's undisputed in the auto industry, of course, right? So moving forward, it's going to be massive. There's a lot of concerns about water and the lawsuit around that and all that sort of stuff. It seems like it's all, for the most part, kind of been sorted out, but to your last knowledge, is it 500,000 cars kind of the cap at the moment of what they can build out?
I think that's what they are limited to. But I mean, there is so much profit in these cars. I think someone said to me that they could just feasibly like bring in this much water on train every day, and they'd have enough water and still make a massive amount of profit. So it's got a bit more than the water. I mean, there's like another factory there or something dumping in a massive amount of clean water into the river daily. And so I think, it was they're just trying to make it a little bit extra hard for Tesla, of course, and capping it at 500,000 as well. I'm pretty sure that factory can do a hell of a lot more than that,
Yeah, they're going to have to build out different parts to the factory, right? Like just with the structure today, I don't think it can sustain, let's say, more than 1 million maybe. But if they continue to build it out, is what you're saying, that's when we get into the 1.5 to.
I mean, there'll be other things like, I guess they might make have a powertrain factory there as well on top of that, and make more of the components there on site eventually. I mean, obviously they're building the new 4680 factory there, which hasn't been delayed the whole time. I mean, all these delays with Berlin and wanting them to get online. I mean, in reality, we wouldn't have had any more cars on the road necessarily if we're chip constrained now. And it's the batteries that are going to constrain us the most in the long run, which means that if the battery factory they're building wasn't delayed, then there should, in theory, be no overall delays in the long term.
Yeah, we'll probably have a little bit of a delay, but yeah, you're right. And zoom out 5 years, it's really not too big of a deal. Kind of what's happening here, and of course with the Shanghai news as well. And we can talk about that later. With Shanghai continuing to build out and continuing to grow past what seems like they've already gone is massive. I know you wanted to talk about profit margins, and you kind of hinted at that there, and that kind of goes with 4680s to a degree. But let's talk about profit margins from these new age factories, excluding 4680s, which I know have hit kind of a hiccup in terms of mass scale for now. But let's talk about profit. What are you kind of anticipating out of the new factories here?
Well, I mean, if you exclude 4680s, it's not as exciting. Also, I don't believe that these new ones from Germany, I don't think they're structural battery packs with the 2170s.
Okay.
I don't think, have we officially heard anything on that? I mean, I checked the weight of them and I compared them to the weight of the Shanghai ones, and they were fairly identical. Nothing like noticeable that we should expect from a structural battery pack. I mean, it should have the front die cast now, though, and I think I saw that on the line, which is something. But yeah, so but the margins, well, now they aren't having to import them from China now. So I think that's like a 10% tariff they were having to pay then. Plus, of course, the shipping cost of having to get them from China. Yeah. They're shipping the batteries from Korea, from LG. But yeah, I mean, that 10% tariff alone and the shipping is going to reduce the costs significantly. That's all profit margin.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the 4680s really are the key, though. They're like, that's what really makes a difference with the margins. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't tell.
No, you've been putting out awesome videos, and you just had one about the 4680, in fact. But going to the structural part, I think at the county fair, they had a photo of the Model Y and they showed the skateboard, and it was structural. But that's not to say that it's going to be, or that just could be like a mock-up.
You mean the one with the cross section that showed the batteries?
The cross section, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was 4680 batteries though.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah. So I think they're only selling the performance version now with 2170 because they don't have the 4680s there, and they're just going to use them in Texas for now. This was their backup. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Troy Tesla reported a week and a half maybe ago, saying that Berlin is anticipating to switch to 4680s quarter 3 or 4 of this year. And Austin should be going mid to quarter 3 of this year, should be switching over to 4680s. But of course, the news out of Cato Road, and you talked about this as well, 1 million cells produced by January, another 1 million 4680 battery cells produced, let's say by March, a couple months there. So they're growing, but it's nothing like the scale that Tesla will need for now on the 4680s. And that's where we get the silly margins, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it gets really exciting. So, but the Cato Road, I mean, you just have to think of it like, what is its purpose? Because it is small compared to this new factory, the 4680 factory in Texas.
Mhm.
So, I mean, its purpose wouldn't be to build up supply and get a lot of batteries. It would be to make sure that the line is running the best it can, the smoothest it can, with the best yields you can,
Mhm.
when you then start up this 4680 battery factory in Texas. Because the pipeline maybe like 10 gigawatt hours or something, we think in Cato Road, whereas Texas we're thinking more like 250, and that's 25 times the size. So anything Cato Road could do would just be pale in comparison of what Texas can do.
Right.
So like, we just don't know what level is sandbagging, what level is they just it's just not, the progress isn't going as well as we hope, and it's just hard to draw conclusions from what we have. But they can't hide their hand for too much longer, because they have to show us something soon, because this battery has to come out,
Yeah.
and these cars with 4680 batteries have to come out too.
Yeah.
So it's happening soon.
Yeah, but I mean, for now they can run with the 2170s and of course third-party suppliers.
I don't think we've actually been said that the 2170s will be in Texas. I don't recall ever hearing that. All I remember is them going straight to 4680s for Texas. The last I heard, they said 2170s for backup for Berlin, but I'm not sure I heard 2170s in Texas. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
In fact, that might be what this mysterious EPA car is.
Right. Right, because you were saying in your one of your last videos that hopefully this isn't the 4680, because the metrics on this are essentially marginal, or marginally better.
The efficiency is identical to 2170. So if it's identical to 2170, then maybe it is 2170.
I think it is, and I forget which. I'm just trying to recall which earnings call we heard Elon talk about it. But you're right. He said backup for Berlin is 2170s, and he said it's leaning that way to start with. And he said we'll have some out of Cato Road, and hopefully that's enough. But if it isn't, we'll go with 2170s to start out of Texas as well. That's my recollection of it. Someone in the comments, if they remember which call that was or whatever, you can let us know. But yeah. Hopefully that would make more sense. And starting with the 2170s at least would allow more scale to start as the 4680s come into production. Maybe they're saving the 4680s for something like the Cybertruck to start off with. And they can just run with the Model Ys for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a lot of 2170s right now, because in the mega packs they've moved over to LFP, and obviously the standard range Model 3, like your one, has now changed to LFP as well. So that frees up a lot of 2170 batteries, which means they could have perhaps made this medium range Model Y, not quite a standard range, just like a medium range with the 2170 batteries that they have spare available, as they may now be, they might stop producing the long range and performance and move that over to 4680 in Texas. But like, it just all depends, like you're saying, like we just need to know how many 4680 batteries they can really produce. And then also we've got to throw the chip shortage into there as well. So like, even if they could make tons of 4680 batteries, then it would be at a opportunity cost of making other ones in China or something, they can only make as many vehicles as the chips they have this year.
Yeah.
So they're just going to choose where they want to make them, really.
For sure. And I've got so many banners lined up and teed up for awesome questions for you, but I just want to pause almost for a second and just get your overall perspective on Tesla. Like, are you excited where we are? Obviously we had quite the drawdown to start the year. Just overall thoughts on the company, fundamentally, technically, stock wise. Like, how are you kind of feeling with the general trajectory?
I'm to be honest, like I'm a little bit up in the air right now.
Okay.
I can't work out what the direction is, and this is why I'm really trying to clutch at any evidence there is to try and point me in the right direction.
Okay.
My theory is that it seems that the Model Y is just insanely popular.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone's moving over to electric now, and I just did this video like proving how affordable Teslas are as well. So it is a low-cost car, cost of ownership, and just the fact that everyone's decided on electric. They've had enough of high prices at the fuel pump. So there is a big movement here, and no one else is really making electric cars to any decent quantity, especially after Tesla steps up with these new factories.
Yeah.
So there's only the Model Y to go to, and the Model 3 too, but the Model Y just has been proving a lot more popular. Plus, I bet Tesla are making probably $4,000 to $5,000 extra margin per Model Y, which is obviously a good incentive to push out the Model Y. So if that was me, all I'd be doing right now is making as many Model Ys as I could, as cheaply as possible, as fast as possible, until I have reached the demand or starting to reach demand, and then even if you reach demand, then you can drop the prices a little bit and then it comes back. And then you could even start advertising and just have so much more demand again. I mean, Elon said, it will be the biggest selling car in the world, implying around 2 million. I think it was the Toyota Corolla in 2018 did like 1.9 million. So we think, 2 million, but he said more than that. I mean, is it 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million? How many people want the Model Ys? But then on top of that, like I was saying, you do advertising, and then around then, suddenly FSD might be like 10 times safer than a human driver. So the demand for electric vehicles has transitioned to a demand for autonomous vehicles. And then suddenly the demand jumps again. And then robotaxis may become regulated, past regulation, and then demand would jump again. So we're still only selling the Model Y, and demand has, So I would just concentrate on making a ton of Model Ys right now, which appears to be what is happening. That makes the most sense to me. But,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want some direction of how fast it's all going to happen, and it's all going to come down to these batteries, the 4680 batteries. I mean, people are talking about CATL, LFP. It's like, no, it's all going to be LFP, but the problem is it's still using these old manufacturing processes for batteries, like Giga Nevada. And if Giga Nevada was ever complete, it was going to be the largest building in the world by footprint, and it would only come out at 150 gigawatt hours of batteries a year eventually. When they get it all running, that was the target. So 150 gigawatt hours, and Elon just said how many we need? 300 terawatt hours of batteries. 150 gigawatt hours a year, it doesn't come close. And same with CATL. So they're using these old manufacturing processes. So the great thing about the 4680 battery was we had the dry battery electric process that Maxwell from Maxwell Technologies, which obviously Tesla refined a lot from there. And that meant, the factory could suddenly be 1/10 the size. You think how long it took to build even Giga Nevada. Imagine building it 3 times the size of that, and then having to build 20 of them. And that would just be for 3 terawatts a year, which we need 300 terawatts total. So it would still take a whole century to build enough batteries for that, with 20 of the largest buildings of the world creating it. And then, of course, you've got legacy autos now still trying to copy what Tesla was doing back in 2012, 2016, whatever, building their battery fabs now using those same old processes, but they've got no choice. So that's the whole thing. The 4680 is now, what it's given us is the ability to scale to the sort of numbers that Elon is actually talking about.
Right. Exactly.
And CATL, they can't do that yet. But, it's a low-cost battery, and obviously iron's more abundant, and they're doing a good job, and they're ramping up. But they have a really good customer called Tesla who will just buy anything they make. So their job's going to be to just make as many fabs as possible and build as many battery factories and lines and just sell them to Tesla.
Yeah. And so you're up in the air because right now, as we sit here, 4680s, you were hoping we'd have more of a concrete update or at least something coming out by now. But as we sit here, end of quarter one, maybe beginning of quarter two, 2022, it seems like 4680s are coming. Of course, we know that at least, but they're not here yet at the scale that we had hoped. Is that why you're kind of up in the air with kind of everything?
4680s is basically, they've bet the entire company on it. They do now also have a backup of LFP China batteries. So there is 2 companies there in a sense with this mixed cathode approach. But 4680s is where the future is, because that's the only battery that can ramp to the level we want. So like it is all about the batteries, and Elon's saying, sure, we're chip constrained this year, but after that, we're going to be battery constrained for like a really, really long time. So just look at how many batteries they're making and where it's coming from. And okay, we did get an update yesterday on 4680 batteries, and it wasn't great, to be honest. On battery day, we had Drew and Elon saying, like 2030, we'll get 20 million cars a year. And then he would say, easily, at worst, And yesterday we heard 10 more years until 20 million cars a year. So, more than we were expecting it within under eight years or so by now. And now it's going to be about 10 years. So that's a 2-year delay, somewhat, you might infer, at least. But to be honest, even if it took 2 years from now for Tesla to get that 4680 factory ramped up, then it is still insanely profitable and insanely good company. It's almost binary. Either they can do it or they can't. And if they can, then the world will change.
Right.
And they are proving that they have. I mean, we've seen the batteries, and they're telling us they're driving the cars with them. It's bound to happen, and they know how important it is. So they aren't messing around either, and they've got the best people in the world working on it, and I bet they're working pretty hard as well. I'm sure Elon's motivated them, working around the clock, just making sure, like, there's no choice, guys. We have to get this done.
Yeah, that's what I really appreciate about you, Lee, is the fact that you dive into so many details, but you like no one else really can tie as many different data points together as well as I feel like you can, especially around battery tech and Tesla. You're just for me at least, you're undisputed in terms of finding all the data on this. Dry battery electrode. We talk about tablets and 4680s. Explain to the layman like me, we talk about 4680s. They can exist with wet electrodes as well. What do we know about that and DBE and the update on Tesla from there?
Well, yeah, I think that was one of their biggest struggles of the 4680 batteries it sounds like it was a really painful task to go through, which again just means like another barrier to entry of anyone coming close to a 4680 battery. And yeah, I know we've got people saying, oh yeah, Panasonic are going to make a 4680 battery and all this and everything. But all they're saying is they're going to make a 4680 battery. They're not saying, oh, and it's going to be dry battery electrode process. Or, I mean, the thing is, like, you have volume surface area ratio, right? You have a bigger battery, which means there is more volume relative to the surface area of a 2170, which basically means you're using less steel casing in the can relative to the amount of actual battery is inside.
Okay.
So it's going to be lighter, right? But then there's all the thermal management issues with such a large battery, which is why the tabless design is so genius. That's how you mitigate it, which means you can make these big batteries, and then it's I think it was a 16% range increase just from using the batteries that size.
Yeah.
So Panasonic can do that. It's like, oh yeah, well, that improves our range 16%. We don't know what they can do with the chemistry and all that. That's a whole nother level. But it's more than just the actual size of the battery, what Tesla have done. And then, obviously the structural battery packs and things like that all improve range again.
Right. Yeah. And so
which would be great in LFP as well. I know Elon said, oh, no, there's no 4680 LFP. And I keep telling people, no, Elon said this, but like, I don't say it like I think it's a good idea. I don't quite understand why you don't need why you couldn't have an LFP 4680. It should work for the same reason, but Elon says though that they won't do one. But yeah, I mean, seems like it would have worked well if it fits in with all the other ones as well. So I'm not sure why. Maybe they can get something more energy dense in a different form factor, and energy density is going to be the key for LFP, rather than reducing cost compared to nickel batteries. So it will be designed for different function. And I could understand if they were making a different form factor for battery storage, because for battery storage, the volumetric density and the energy density, they don't matter so much because you're not moving these things. It's one big battery.
Right.
It could be like 2 meters high or something, you can just rethink the entire design of the battery for stationary storage.
Right. And so 4680s, of course, and By the way, I have full confidence that Tesla will figure it out. They have, the world's best. If this is, kind of the bottom line is if Tesla can't figure it out, then we're all screwed anyways. So
I think so, right? We have no choice. And
so
they know
it's
that. So they're
yeah,
going to do everything.
yeah, and
This company depends on it. I mean, it will be
yeah,
a profitable company on the LFP side alone, and even 2170, it's going to do great. We'll be all right as stockholders. But
right.
if we want these $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 price tags, we need a battery that can ramp up.
For sure. And that's where we get to proliferation to like third world countries as well with the 4680s. So putting 4680s aside, then let's talk about what are your volume estimates then, let's say without 4680s this year. Are you still confident Tesla can at least grow by what they've stated to grow with the hiccups on the 4680s that you potentially see coming?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've just got these CATL LFP batteries that will make the numbers really. And again, remember, it's the microchips that was the short that was going to keep them short. So, I mean that new LFP fab that CATL, they purchased this factory, I think 3 blocks from Giga Shanghai,
Texas.
and they within like months they had their lines going up, and supposedly 80 gigawatt hours there. I mean that's 1.3 million cars extra. So you do the numbers. There's enough batteries for them to hit those numbers, yeah. And then of course they're building that new factory in Shanghai. Tesla is, and then CATL are building one next door to them. But the drone flyer Wu-Wa, he does a great job, and he thinks that might be a laboratory, possibly a research facility for LFP batteries. That, in my theory, Tesla and CATL would work in unison to try and make the best LFP battery, probably using that battery day technology, and then everything CATL know about LFP. That might make sense. I don't know. But I think, as we're saying, how slow LFP ramp up compared to 4680, I think Tesla have to take LFP into their own hands. They've got no choice, especially when Elon's talking about it being 80% of the batteries.
Right. And so of course, quarter estimations, you don't have to dive into like specifics, but let's say for fiscal year 2022, or if you have quarterly estimations, would love to hear kind of what you're thinking there. Kind of I think streets at 1.4 something million cars delivered for the year. I'm guessing you're probably over the street.
I think last I was around 1.7, yeah.
1.7, and that's
in that ballpark.
With what contribution out of Berlin and Austin do you have out of that 1.7?
Yeah, I think it was still minimal. Off the top of my head, it might have been 50-ish, 60,000 perhaps. Yeah.
Each. Okay, that's very subdued.
Or total maybe. It was okay. Maybe. Wow. I can't recall, but in that ballpark, yeah.
That's pretty low then. So you're really not estimating, or I guess you're just leaving it to kind of upside at least.
Well, the way I did it was just like I figured this is how many cars Tesla can make due to the chip shortage. So it's like how many cars can Tesla make with chips, and then I just allocated them how I saw fit for each factory really.
Gotcha.
But I mean, the total I have possibly might not deviate much, but the allocation from factories could deviate somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And unless, of course, we're being sandbagged about chip shortages. Who knows, right?
So 1.7 is like with your chip shortage estimates, not with chips really not getting any better throughout the year.
Well, yeah, basically. I mean, I think it will be improving throughout the year still because. I mean, and also, Tesla are still relatively low numbers when you talk about Volkswagen or Toyota, and they're getting all their chips from somewhere too. So you got to wonder a little bit if there are sandbagging, and then like Tesla just rewrites their software that it can, so other chips that are more scarce can be replaced with chips that are more available.
Yeah,
and they're just instantly sorting it out. Whereas other companies like, oh, when can we get our chips? Or and I think they're getting them from Malaysia now, like because like they're using such old technology, they have to use like these chips that are made in Malaysia because the TSMC don't want to make these. They don't want to make these basic chips anymore.
Right.
So they're struggling. These auto legacy companies, but I think the chip shortage is real. I think it's a real thing, especially from what I've heard. Like Kathy Wood was coming out with that theory that it's just no one wants to buy the legacy cars, and it's a smoke screen that we're just short on chips. I think we're quite clearly short on chips.
Right. What's going to be interesting though is coming out of this, and when I say this, I mean all the supply chain issues and coronavirus and all the manufacturing delays that we've had. Let's say in 2 years, 1.5, 2 years. It'll be really interesting to see. In my estimation, of course, I think demand for ICE vehicles it's going to fall off a cliff, just like what Kathy's saying. And the reason I say that is not because of data, but just anecdotal data that I have in my friend group, my network. Most people that are complaining about gas prices today, talking about they don't want to continue paying gas. Why would they go out and buy a brand new car in the next 5 years if they still have that in the back of their head? Let's say if gas prices do subside back down, they'll always have that fear of, what if there's like a short squeeze that we see again? At least we had one here. Gas was $1.40 a liter Canadian, not too long ago, and now it's $2 and something. So that's quite the hit for people that commute quite far away, right? And we don't have to talk about real estate too much, but of course this has effects on all parts of the economy. People want to live closer to work. People want to own less vehicles, like everything. So 1.7 is awesome. Considering everything that's going up. Of course, 936 last year, 936,000. So that'd be quite the growth to continue for Tesla. On top of that, what are you projecting, let's say, on the 1.7 for let's say, like not even EBITDA, but let's say operating margin or gross profit of greater than 30% for gross profit? I'm guessing could even with these factories coming online, or are you?
This is something we're definitely going to find out. This is going to be interesting. So it's hard to assume. I mean, I think I actually did a whole forecast of each quarter with that, and I think I had us down maybe 22, low to maybe 23% or something gross margin next quarter with the new factories. Okay. But I think we're back up in the low 30s again by the end of the quarter, maybe 31 or so.
Okay.
I think this quarter is, 34% we could see or something, right? That we're finally going to see some of these price rises that everyone's been talking about for so long. It's like, but they don't kick in because they have all this backlog. And it's like, well, now they're going to start kicking in. And, like the Model 3 standard range has increased in price 30%, like since, was it December 2020?
It's massive.
Because it was like $36,500 or something, like back then. Yeah. And all they've done really since then is replace the nickel batteries with LFP batteries and reduce costs further while raising prices 30%. The battery saving would have been $4,000 or so, right? So that margin on that car is getting pretty good, along with all the price rises on the Model Y. So they haven't been raising the prices as dramatically in China, so they're not going to be felt as much there, but still they'll be noticeable. And so 34% could be seen in this quarter, and I think that will be good. I think we'll have a good quarter this quarter. And these new factories, they'll probably be in there for the last week or so, and that will affect the costs a little bit. But hopefully not too much as a result. But going forwards though, I've done numbers where you can see a Model Y with over 50% from people ordering FSD, and if they order some options like bigger wheels and things like that, it's just going to keep on getting higher, which is unfathomable when you. And this was before they raised the price to $62,000. So but people are just thinking, well, they can't transition the world to electric cars with $62,000 cars. What are they thinking? That is not how you do it. It's like, well, they'll still sell just as many cars. So it makes no difference. But this way, they'll have all this extra money to invest in R&D and researching how to make the cars cheaper so that one day they can bring out an affordable car for you, but it's not for you yet. It's for someone else until it does reach your price point. Although, if I did the economics of buying, say, a $10,000 used car, and at about 20 mpg, you are saving about $15,000 over 6 years. Buying a brand new Model 3 Standard Range Plus on finance, compared to buying a $10,000 used car. That's the economics, but it's hard for people to think like that. They just see the big sticker tag to start with, $47,000. That's a lot of money, and it is. But when you factor in the opportunity costs of running an ICE car that's probably 10 years old, starting to cost quite a bit on maintenance, it's not as fuel efficient anymore. All
Depreciation.
the other, pardon me?
And also depreciation by the end of the 6 years, right?
And you know, like, what is a $10,000 car going to be worth after 6 years when it's got like 200,000 miles on the clock? Yeah, it's basically a write-off. Whereas your Tesla, and in this scenario, the Tesla dropped $20,000, which is insanely conservative. It's probably risen $20,000 after 6 years. So basically, Teslas are, for lack of a better word, free relative to owning an ICE car.
Yeah. You know what? It's fun. It's and of course people have to be able to dole out or get credit or whatever it might be. And you know what? There are, you can get, like, you can always go use on the, like, I'm a big a proponent of telling people to look at used EVs like Nissan Leafs or something that they can get cheaper if they can't, right? It doesn't have to be a Tesla. But you're right. I mean, the maintenance and everything like that. But one thing you hit on earlier there, you just said Tesla's starting to prioritize people with orders that have FSD bought, right? So $10,000 or $12,000 package added on. And they're saying, if you add it, great, we'll give you your delivery in 2 or 3 months. If you don't add it, no problem. You're just going to wait with the rest of everyone in like October or something. Man, the effect that's going to have,
I know, right?
on it's almost going to be misleading to a degree unless that FSD continues, but it's massive. But of course, they can only recognize about 50 or 60% of that revenue anyways, right?
Yeah. But I mean, imagine when the waiting lists might be 2 years, and then you can get your FSD one in 3 months or something instead. Then it's just going to add more and more value of jumping that waiting list. And you know, when you have made that conscious decision to buy a new car, you've bought it in your head. Now you want it, and you want it as soon as possible. The waiting is painful almost. You know, before you'd made the decision, it didn't matter. But as soon as you put down the deposit, suddenly you just really want it, and you're willing to pay extra just to get it that much sooner. But you know, if you can get it a year sooner for $12,000, a lot of people would not hesitate to do that.
And so 1.7 for the year. I'm just trying to break down end of year and trying to get, like, I'm just trying to extrapolate for myself what like a price target feasibly could be for end of year. Do you know off the top of your head what EPS you're projecting, or how many vehicle deliveries you're projecting for Q4 of this year, past kind of all this short-term pain with Berlin and Austin?
Okay, I got up my forward projection for the year. So I think for Q4 I'm at 498,000 deliveries.
So it's about $5 EPS, adjusted EPS, close to that.
Oh, sorry. So that was just the deliveries, half a million deliveries. The revenue was 27.5. Yeah, EPS, you're right, about $5. Yeah,
$5, right?
$4.87 diluted.
Okay, perfect. So and just rough math.
Yeah.
Extrapolating $5, annualizing that, it's about $20 EPS annualized by the end of this year. That's massive. How are you looking at multiple on that current? Of course, we're in a depressed multiple market at the moment with everything. But
P ratios have changed, definitely. It's not the same as it used to be. That's clear for now, anyway. But yeah, so I mean, that came in GAAP earning of 5.5. So, like you say, analyzed, that's $22 billion, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's massive. First of all, you know, just pausing there for a second, where Tesla was 2 years ago to where they are, like, or they might be at the end of this year. That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, but if you put a PE 50 on that, you're at 1,100 stock price, you know, which probably should be there maybe this week or next week. So that would be about where we are now. But if we've seen another year of growth like that, and if we're seeing these 4680s ramp up and it's all going well, and we see how amazing the energy density is for these batteries, then and then maybe some more FSD breakthroughs. I mean, 80 should be.
I think I almost think higher, because, you know, if we did Q4 of this year, or 2021, Tesla did about $2.80, let's say, EPS adjusted out of Elon's payroll tax. That's about $12 annualized. Let's say $3 annualized at $12. And let's say you're at 22 or 20 or 22. That's about 100% growth year over year on EPS. 100% growth year over year on EPS commands about 100 PE. If you want a peg of one, let's say, so 100 EPS on that is about $2,000 in terms of.
I mean, I would be happy with it. I'd still be buying at 100 PE. I just wonder how the market takes it. It's still it just doesn't value it like we do.
And of course,
what we do. I mean, it's somewhat a car company still as well, and Tesla is a car company. If you look at the financials, that's where all the profit's coming from. But it's transitioning now from a car company to a car and battery company, which is going to make all the difference.
Yeah, and it's still undervalued just on a car basis. But we can talk about other things as well on the FSD side in a second. And I want to get your thoughts on robotaxis and FSD development if we can. But I want to talk about new vehicles. Elon's hinted at this a little bit. I think even like a year and a half ago when Berlin was just getting started, he's like, Giga Berlin, we're not going to just copy and paste what we've done. We're going to have new models. We're going to do German engineering to its finest. And we've heard the same spiel out of Shanghai as well. What are your thoughts on like new vehicles coming out of Tesla, not called Model Y, but like Model Y 0.1 or something?
I mean, there was even a stage when they were talking about the Model 2 that would be built. There'd be one for one for Europe and one different one for China as well. Like things have changed so much. The compact doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon now. But he has said, I think it was the shareholder meeting as well, that the most recent one last year, he was also saying that we will eventually bring out lots of other models. And then yesterday at Germany was the second time I've heard him say that there'll be lots of other models coming out of Germany. So, I mean, we all want to see more Tesla models. Everyone wants a compact. Everyone wants their Cybertruck, and there's so many other vehicles in between. So, if it's from Germany, perhaps it may be a compact. I mean, that seems to be a car that a lot of people in Europe do want.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason, though, was because of the fuel prices, though. Obviously, a compact does cost a lot less. And okay, fine, the streets are narrower and the parking is pretty tough. I don't know if you've ever tried parallel parking in Nice or somewhere. The French are a funny nation. They all just bump each other's cars all the time to try and get in the car. All their cars are dinged up. They don't really care about cars.
Oh, really? Much like that. Okay, interesting. No, I haven't tried.
It's a really funny nation, the French. There's a lot of respect for them. All their headlights, they're all yellow as well. They decided to go yellow headlights.
I didn't know that. I've never been to France. No.
And their cars, some of the innovation of the French cars is something else, to tell you. So for parking and stuff, you do need a compact car, and some of those streets are narrow. But at the same time, like when I was in Rome and I get an Uber, or maybe it's a taxi, but it was a big E-Class Mercedes. So if there's robotaxis, then perhaps they don't need to be compact anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
That's right.
And of course, changing manufacturing lines is not going to be easy as well. Just to pump out new models, that's not going to be efficient, right, for Tesla.
Yeah.
So,
the Model 3 and the Model Y, they share like 75% of the same parts. So in reality, it's almost the same car they're making. And that's now what happens when it's all structural front and rear die casts and all that. It's almost just going to be a different shell on top or whatever.
For sure.
It's almost the same car, basically. So suddenly entering like a whole new car, like a compact, it's going to be tough. Plus, you've got to try and get all this technology into a much smaller car whilst maintaining its safety. Elon's big on safety, but there's just the pure physics you can't get around of a smaller car can't be as safe. So, I think the Cybertruck. I did one video about the Cybertruck, saying that it could be delayed and it might not be as early as we think because the Model Y is so popular. And I think that was the only video that I've ever made that actually lost subscribers.
But you were right.
People did not want to hear about the Cybertruck. Not any chance of it not happening. Like, this car is so coveted. Like, it's the most pre-orders of a car ever in history.
Oh, for sure.
And people, think, they're going to sell hundreds of thousands of them. If Ford can sell almost 1 million or so F-150s a year, I mean, how many are Tesla going to sell? It could be
Yep.
millions, right? And then
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah.
so many applications for it that
Yep.
it can just go on and on.
Yep.
So and like the love people have for it, I get, and they just get so cross when I ever mention any potential delays.
Yep.
I'm like saying, wait, guys, this is good for your stock. It means that there's so much demand for the Model Y. The stock price is going to go that much better. It's like, I don't care anymore. I just want my Cybertruck.
Yeah. Cybertruck, yeah. There's like a cult following. There's like a subsection of a cult following for Cybertruck. Understandably so. There's nothing else like it in the market.
Yeah. I personally think it's gorgeous. I think it is an amazing looking machine. What about yourself? Are you?
Yeah, I wasn't sold on it originally, to be quite honest. But I know not everything in the world is designed for me, but it's grown on me quite a bit, and I think it has great practical use, or will have great practical use. In terms of like if you're a construction worker or general contractor, that's going to be the car that you want, I think. By the way, it's 10:50. We always play our 10-minute to close Tesla closing price guessing game for virtual Juju as a prize. If you're in the chat, remember Price is Right rules. Throw your guess in, one guess per person. Be at or under. If you're even a cent over, you can't win. Throw your guess in. Lee, hopefully you can play with us here. What's your guess on Tesla closing price in 10 minutes here?
Okay. How about 999.69?
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna put that in the chat on your behalf. I'm gonna say mine is $1,000 on the dot. I'm gonna throw it in because I always forget what we've guessed. So I throw it in. Mine is $1,000 on the dot. Interesting. Not any scientific reason for that, Lee?
No, it's a guess.
There we go. So actually, to Cybertruck for a hot second. What's your current guess on when Cybertruck comes out? I think middle of this year was what we were hoping, but it really doesn't seem like that's going to happen, right?
Elon did yesterday. He said sometime next year, hopefully, but I don't know. I think he probably feels the heat on it, like I do, and realizes, like these people are going to get really upset if I delay their Cybertruck anymore. He knows that probably he can play some politics a little bit, be a little bit diplomatic, just pushing it out a little bit here and there. And obviously, this is like a really, really tough engineering feat to do. I mean, there is nothing like it in the world. So, like it's going to be a tough job. And if he's got to do that, it's going to likely be taking opportunity costs from other places. Now, if he has robotaxis and basically robotaxis income, we've all seen the potential of that. It dwarfs absolutely everything. The profits that can come from that. So if there is a glimpse of possibility from Tesla that they can pull off robotaxis in the next year or 2 or 3, then all hands on deck should just be getting robotaxis out, because the numbers are just insane. Everything else just doesn't matter,
Yeah, that's kind of what Elon
they
was.
know that.
I think Elon got a lot of flack for that almost on the last earnings call. I remember when he was like, guys, stop asking me about growth strategy. When robotaxis are solved, none of this is going to matter, right?
Yeah.
Of which, of course, Wall Street analysts are like, screw you. We don't like that answer, right? So
yeah, the first question was like, oh, can you give us an update on the compact? He's like, oh, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. It's real blase. It's, oh, yeah. And like millions of people around the world are like, oh my God, I'm not getting my Tesla next year or in the next year. Oh my God. And he said it so cavalier, just like so many people's hopes and dreams for the next few years just absolutely destroyed. And then he's just like, oh, you're looking at it wrong. It's not about a low-cost car. It's about low-cost transport, getting you from A to B in the lowest cost. First principles thinking.
Right.
Which is right. So AKA robotaxi. And when this compact does come out, I don't think, obviously inflation has come in at $25,000 does sound unlikely at this stage, but I don't think it's going to be the selling Tesla. I think it's just going to be a compact version. It's not going to be the biggest selling Tesla. Just like, say, BMW have their 1 Series, Mercedes have their A-Class, Audi has their A1. It's just their small compact version. It's not their biggest seller.
Right.
I think the core products are going to be the Y and the 3 because they're probably the most practical for robotaxis. And Cybertruck is going to be this huge utilitarian vehicle too. And obviously there's potential of Cybertruck going into the robotaxi network and doing all sorts of things with that, like and being rebuilt for applications.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense. If that's what's changed. But of course, when you set expectations in a certain way for Tesla fans to expect a
Mm,
$25,000
yeah,
car and
big,
then very dismissive about it, there's kind of some dissonance there that needs to, there's
absolutely.
that needs to be mended. So hopefully we get more answers around that. I mean, the main thing for me at the moment, I always kind of say this is, for me at the moment, model mix doesn't matter so much as long as, let's say, delivery unit growth is still up there. But at a
Mm,
certain point, it will matter for more, like, you're driving more unit volume, let's say past 3 or 4 million units per year. I think Model Y and Model 3 can still sustain that. But Model 3 is getting to a point at a price now. Like here it was in Canada, it was $52,000 when we
mm,
bought it, and with that we'd get an $8,000 EV rebate. Now it's 60,000, and it no longer qualifies for an
yeah,
EV
sure.
rebate, which is essentially like a $16,000 swing within a year,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
of buying a car.
I mean, this is just Tesla controlling the demand. It's like
Yeah,
they're only selling as many Model 3s as they want to.
yeah,
If they wanted to sell more, they'd just drop the price and they'd start making the 4680 version. They're just going to concentrate on the Y for now.
hmm,
It just makes so much more profit.
yep,
And then probably next they will actually they probably ramp up the Model 3 4680 version, lower cost, and then reduce the cost, and then demand will go up for that as well.
yep,
They've just got so much margin they can work with. They can just find the demand they need to meet the supply at the market clearing price. We're the best profit. But this is the problem with everyone else. Okay, the other EV companies, they can't make hype. Oh, we're over 1,000. Wow,
there we
nice.
go.
And they can't make they just can't make many cars, right? So instead of making a lot of one version of a vehicle, they
Right.
just they bring out more models. So they get stuck ramping up to volume production. They get limited to maybe halfway there, and it's like,
Mm,
okay, volume production. Wow, this is tough. What do we
mm,
do? Well, we need to sell more cars. How do we do that? Okay, well,
mm.
let's start a new model and a new line. Okay,
Yep.
cool, let's do that. So they've got a lot more lines, a lot more models, doing halfway volume production, all making a net loss though. But
Yes.
they
Yep.
can market it as, look how many models we've got than Tesla.
I know.
Tesla's
Yep.
only really got 2 models. We've got a dozen or so. We know AEVs. We're selling way more than Tesla.
Yes.
And the claims GM make of what 30 plus models
I
by
know.
2025.
Yeah. I've
It's like,
talked about this in a video I made a couple months back, but it's kind of like, you go to a restaurant and it's like a dingy old restaurant and it has like 95 things on its menu,
yeah,
versus you go to like some high-end diner place that only opens for like 3 hours every day and it has like
yeah,
5 things you can choose
uh-huh,
from at most. Like
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
difference, right?
You got
People
the
don't, and
Cheesecake Factory and you got a 3-star Michelin restaurant. There's a difference, right?
and and on top of that, just look at it from a manufacturing perspective. If you have 95 different models,
Mm,
exaggerating, how can you possibly be driving the cost down on those
yeah,
versus if
it's
you have
economies of
five?
scale, right?
There's no
This
economies of scale whatsoever.
and,
So
and, and the
yeah,
economies of scale you get from just having 2 models sell in these quantities. I
I
mean,
know.
they're building factories on every continent
Yeah.
because because there's so much demand for these models. I'm expecting them, maybe one day they might build a smaller factory in the UK. They might build
Mhm.
a smaller factory in Japan. They might build a smaller one in Australia or something, because the demand is just so much, and it just saves in shipping, and they source so much of the material locally.
Yep.
It's the demand. If the whole world's going electric, it's a lot of
Yep.
demand,
A
but
lot. Yeah.
only if they can make enough batteries.
And it's like you can almost read all the cards that I have here. What's your what's your bet on the next Gigafactory location that I think, let's say sometime middle of next year, end of next year might be announced?
Right. Yeah, I like how you said location. Yeah, because there's new fabs coming up in Germany, Texas, and Shanghai. But location wise, I'm probably leaning the most to the Northeast US.
Okay. So like New England, kind of like New
Yeah,
York, that type of area?
probably in that vicinity. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And what makes you think that?
Well, again, there's this, for the same reason. I mean, America is the biggest market for Tesla. It's also the biggest car market by dollars spent.
Okay.
It's massive, right? And it's Tesla's home turf. They know FSD is going to come out first there.
Yep.
Robotaxis are going to come out first there. and shipping. It's an enormous country. I've driven across it twice. It's huge, right?
Okay, nice.
It takes a long time to get stuff from Texas to New York or wherever, New England. So it adds in cost, and it saves, just maybe save another $1,000, $2,000 in each vehicle, which is huge. And Elon has only ever talked about that as the next location, if I recall. For we're talking about, obviously, car factories here. I believe that is the only location that Elon has mentioned building a car factory. He said one on every continent as well. But yeah, I mean, you've got South America and places like that too. Right. And when you've got robotaxis, you've then got the cheapest form of transport. You can just put it anywhere. I mean, obviously the FSD and stuff is more complicated. And what Elon was saying yesterday about how complicated it is in Europe, and he's right. Oh my gosh, I was thinking about it. Yeah, all the different signs, different languages. And what I was telling you about in France, how the headlights are different. Oh, and in France, they're so clever, right? They decide to go the opposite way in roundabouts and things like this. It is, honestly, the country, it's hilarious. But they had this amazing suspension. Was it in the Citroen CZ1? That was because after the World War II, right? The roads were just terrible, right? So it was just dreadful to drive on. So Citroen made this absolutely incredible suspension, and I think the story is that if you can put a bunch of crate of eggs on your seat and go through a bumpy field or whatever, and the eggs shouldn't crack at all. That's how good it was. I think Bentley ended up buying their suspension technology off them. But yeah, honestly, French cars are there's something else.
Interesting. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Is it just
sorry? So the FSD is going to be that much tougher going around Europe, and like he was saying. But then, think about Brazil and
think about India.
India,
yeah.
I would benefit so much from robotaxis as well.
For sure, India is nuts. I went to India about 4 years ago, and I was so traumatized with the way that they drive there. I had to fly instead. I couldn't do it. We actually got in a car accident. We had to bribe some cops to even get away from the whole. It was nuts. It's just I don't get how they operate. So yeah, FSD beta going through New Delhi, some roundabout. I'd probably pay to see how it'd probably it would just self-destruct. It would be no, this is too much.
Maybe you need Cybertrucks for the FSD in India, right?
Why can you just plow through everyone?
Yeah, right. I mean, is it also the right of the way? Is the bigger the vehicle gets the right of way?
Yeah.
And you want something solid, that is going to, because it's probably going to get in quite a few accidents. So if it's just bouncing off the Cybertruck, you don't have to worry about that.
Oh my God.
And then you can probably fit a dozen of them in there. And the regulation is no one needs seatbelts or whatever. So who knows?
Oh yeah, no kidding. Well, for our Tesla closing price winner, Pietri, I thought you were the winner here, but I think I saw a $9.99 on the dot, and that is Michael Gibson. That's the closest because everyone else guessed $9.99.69, like yourself, $9.99.99. So seems like Michael Gibson, you are the winner of today's virtual Juju prize, which I will send to you in 5 to 10 business days, virtually. Awesome. Lots of good stuff to talk about. I don't want to keep you too long here past the market close. But
it's good to be back over 1,000 though. It's good. It does feel good. I mean, I know don't get excited when it goes up, and then equally don't get upset when it goes down. But and I try not to, but I don't know. Inside, I just feel like I am a bit happier when it is higher. It's not an emotion. It's just you're happier. But I mean, when you have also some options in the game, it is different as well.
For sure,
it's not a 10-year strategy. You can just sit out and wait anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to see them recovering a bit too, and in the money again.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting even with today is Tesla's up. The S&P is down on the day 1.3%. NASDAQ is down 1.5%, and Tesla still ended up green. Albeit only $5 up, but still, I mean, that's good relative strength today. And not only that, on 40 million shares traded for Tesla today. So that volume is back in action. And I'm guessing, how silly is it, honestly, that we all knew Berlin was coming online. It's like they had
Mm,
to wait until the celebratory. It's like they almost didn't believe it until they saw
mm.
Elon there dancing, and they're like, "Okay, this is legit."
Yeah,
It's like they
yeah. When
needed
Elon
that.
starts dancing, you know it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Like last time he did it at Shanghai, right? So,
Yeah.
um, hey, I mean, it's this is just the way Tesla goes, and to be fair, I mean, what Tesla's up. Let me just draw a trend line here. In the last 6 days or 8 days, pardon me, Tesla is up 37.2% from the low. And that's nuts. I mean, if you want to measure it from remember the day that we hit 700 right on the dot when the war started. It's been 27 days since then, 19 trading days, and it's up 50%, apparently is what it says. So,
Wow, that was some
um,
dip.
yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is just the way that Tesla goes. Are you expecting a pullback here, consolidation? What are you kind of anticipating here on the short term for Tesla?
Like I'm really just micro focused on these batteries. I think
Yeah. Okay.
if the street understands, if the market understands enough just how much difference this makes, and I'm thinking that when we do see the actual EPA figures from these batteries, that then we finally get evidence of the efficiency of what it means, and maybe the market might understand that. I don't know. It surprises me what the market doesn't quite understand at times. But this is Battery Day.
Mm-hmm.
The product from Battery Day is going to be revealed. It's monumentous, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we knew Berlin was opening, and we knew Texas was opening,
Yeah.
and we knew this. We knew all this was happening, and this is why I went big on the dip when Elon was selling his shares. I was like, oh my gosh, what a gift! We know Texas and Berlin about to open, and I figured probably $100 to jump in stock when each of those open, so 200 total, easily there, and obviously probably another $200 when Elon stopped selling, it would recover. So yeah, I mean that was a good dip, but yeah, you never know what else is coming, right?
It's tough. Yeah.
If I'd waited a month, it would have been good, but yeah. So, but I did it on a dip, so you can only, when you are buying on the dip, worst case scenario, it can only be so bad as well.
Yeah, buying on the dip for sure. And but I mean the problem here now is that this market is very headline driven, as we've seen, other than the last week here on Tesla. It's been so headline driven, so Fed driven, so just whatever news cycle is coming out at the moment.
Macro's been in charge, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, with all the Ukraine crisis, with the Ukraine crisis happening, so it's been tough. But yeah, I mean, zooming out and just speaking on Tesla exclusively, like Tesla's continuing to execute, albeit they have to pivot every now and then. But that's what every good business has to do when they hit. Like, it's not going to be a walk in the park. If this is going to be a walk in the park, then everyone would have done it. Tesla's taking on a pretty monumental challenge here.
It's not a walk in the park. Yeah, I mean, you say pivot. Yeah, I think that's what Tesla have done. Like how, forget the compact Tesla. We're pivoting. Like all these things that we were told on Battery Day, it's like the industry and the company is moving so fast. It's hard to make to tell people the future of this company, even for Tesla as well. They don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, they couldn't have predicted these commodity prices so much. Hopefully, they have hedged them in a major way, and I don't think we're going to be feeling them as bad as some. But yeah, it feels like it is a pivot, and I feel like we're going to get a lot of information coming up soon about what they're going to do. So I'm just trying to, like I said, it's up in the air. I'm trying to really ground myself again and try and focus on where they've pivoted to, really, and what the future holds for them.
Yeah,
But
and
I mean, financially, we're going to be fine as stockholders. That all looks good. I just it's hard to make the forecasts and predictions if I don't know what products they're going to sell.
Right. You're right. Exactly. And I guess this year is a little bit easier, of course, but yeah, you're talking about 2030, we're going to need more details to find that out. But the good thing is, I mean, and I kind of rest my laurels on this a little bit, is if Tesla can't figure this out, no one can. And I think we all believe in Tesla engineers, and it's not just Elon, right? I think Elon gets a lot of the credit, deservedly so. But it's the amazing people and engineers that also work at Tesla all night, all day behind this stuff. And, they've thought through this a million times and have shown that they know what they're doing. So Exciting times ahead. Thanks, Lee, for jumping on. Sorry about the time change. Should have given you a heads up on that. But North America is weird like that. We
My
always
bad.
every 6 months we decide to lose or gain an hour of sleep for some reason.
Yeah, I thought it was I'd only lost an hour, but it was 2 hours. I guess both our time changed, at the same time. So yeah, I should have worked that one out.
No, all good. That's my fault. I should have reminded you. And I'm seeing a lot of comments, by the way, on Chicken Genius and stuff. I just my 2 cents. I've said this on Discord as well. I hope Ken the best. It sucks to see him leave YouTube. Hopefully he's back, and he's always welcome within the Juju Gang community for positive vibes and just spread positivity. That's all we can say, really, in terms of the world today. And I've also shot Ken a DM on Twitter saying the same. Lee, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming in. Any last words, any conclusive thoughts around anything? And your channel, of course, go visit Lee's channel on Tesla Economist if you haven't already as well.
Just keeping an eye on these batteries, really.
Oh, whoops. You know what's funny, by the way, is before you sign off, is I just imagine you in your lair all day, just researching on all of these battery forums and like putting these videos together. Cause like some of the stuff that you say, I'm like, how does he find this info out? Like, do you want to share? Do you want to share briefly how you find all this info?
I'll have something like 60 or so tabs open in Google Chrome, going back and forth, articles everywhere, massive spreadsheets open, doing numbers all over the place, and trying to research them. Then, catching up, having to go through a lot of Elon videos, things that have been said, making sure I'm getting it verbatim, trying to go to the source as much as possible. But and then writing it all down into an essay that I can read out.
That's crazy. And super commendable work. Go support Lee's work on YouTube and check him out also on Patreon as well. Awesome. Thanks, Lee, for tuning on. Maybe you can come back, let's say maybe earnings call day or the week or two after we analyze a couple things, and you can come on for another power hour or half power, whatever you have availability for.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Yashi.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone. Peace. Awesome. Guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the love. Remember, spread positivity. I've that's why I love this community, is because of the positive vibes that we bring. Let's continue that. And I wish everyone the best. Friday Power Hour is still on for this week. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. And of course, go check out Lee's channel as well on Tesla at Tesla Economist. Much love, guys. Take care. Yash signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.